Our parable from Jesus this morning is deceptively simple. On the face of it, we are presented with two straightforward characters. The first we are introduced to is a Pharisee. Now, because the Pharisees are often depicted as at odds with Jesus in the Gospels, through the years, we Christians have developed our own characterization of the Pharisees. If I mention a Pharisee, the popular imagination is often an image of someone who is legalistic, hypocritical, arrogant, and unloving. With that image of the Pharisees in mind, this parable reads like a quick and easy confirmation of our own preconceived notions. There is the hypocritical Pharisee, acting just like we would expect him to, looking down on others and confident in his own righteousness, which contrasts rather nicely with this humble tax collector who recognizes his own sinful state and who is therefore seeking forgiveness from God. All very well and good. We can read this parable and offer our thanks to God that we aren't like those self-justifying Pharisees who are so hypocritical and quick to judge others. But now we've fallen into the very same trap that Jesus was trying to warn us against. In his own time, it was the tax collectors who represented those bad people outside of our group. These collaborators with the Roman Empire and so traitors to their own people. All the while, these tax collectors are getting rich by lying to the people and collecting more than is really owed. These are no professional state bureaucrats. Mention a tax collector in a story during this time, and something more like a mobster collecting protection money is what comes to mind. So in Jesus' time, the Pharisees were actually representative of those of high moral character, people who were virtuous and honorable, people you wanted to associate with. It's worth keeping in mind here that the reason Jesus and the Pharisees clash so often in the Gospels is because their views are actually rather closely aligned. They have a lot of shared values, and so lots of common ground on which to debate with one another as fellow rabbis. What Jesus is actually doing with these two characters, the Pharisee and the tax collector, is subverting the expectations of his audience. Think about it. It would be rather surprising to us to hear a story in which the mob boss is shown to be the faithful one, while the upstanding, law-abiding citizen is revealed to be unrighteous. We should be careful then when we read this parable, that we don't simply read into the character of the Pharisee those bad people who have all the characteristics we don't like. Because then we are doing exactly what Jesus warns his disciples against. We are right back to drawing lines in the sand and deciding for ourselves who is worthy of God and who is not. Who is in our obviously righteous group and who is on the outside. So if the parable isn't just about making the Pharisees out to be the bad guys, what is actually going on here? Well, what this really is a lesson from Jesus on prayer. Note that this parable comes right after last week's lesson on prayer, in which Jesus holds up the persistent widow petitioning an unjust judge as a model for our own prayer. So here, Jesus continues his lesson. Looking afresh at this parable, subverting expectations, Jesus presents the prayer of the unsavory character, the tax collector, as our model for how to pray. For it is the prayer of one who knows that they need God's grace. The problem for our upstanding character in this story, the Pharisee, is that his prayer does not recognize this need. It is the prayer of one confident that they already have everything that they need, that they are already perfect. But God's grace, Jesus teaches us, is actually available to anyone who asks for it. It's available to all those unsavory characters out there who we would rather not be associated with. It is, in truth, available to the very people that you are most uncomfortable with. The ones on the news you shake your head at in exasperation, or the ones being criticized in your social media feed. That's who the kingdom is for. And thanks be to God, this very same grace is even available to those of us who like to think we are doing just fine on our own. Thank you very much. Prayer, Jesus says, really is for everyone.